Welcome once again to the Times Techies webinar series. My name is Sujit John, and I have with me my colleague Shilpa Fadnis. We are technology and business reporters at TOI, and both of us have been with TOI a long time. The two of us will moderate this discussion. Our discussion today is in association with Cisco, and we are calling it The Next Normal, the Future of Work, Workers, and Workspace. The world is in the midst of one of the most dramatic transformations in work and the workplace. At the speed at which it is happening is probably unprecedented. A year ago, we wouldn't have imagined so many of us would be working from home, doing such webinars from home. We are doing it all so comfortably. Technology is allowing us to organize our work life and our workspaces in very different ways. And we wrote a story today in the Times Techies today on that, some fascinating new technologies emerging. To discuss all this, we have with us today Sudhir Nayar. Sudhir is Managing Director for the Commercial Sales for Cisco India and SAARC. Sudhir has 27 years of experience in business management, sales, partner management, and leadership in the technology industry. Prior to joining Cisco, Sudhir worked with Microsoft, where he led sales and marketing for the SMB segment in India. And before that, Sudhir was at Oracle and at Sun Microsystems. Welcome, Sudhir.
Thank you very much.
Those who are viewing this can send in questions through the Facebook comment box. Shilpa and I will put them to Sudhir. Sudhir has a short presentation. Once that is done, we'll get into the Q&A. Sudhir?
Okay, good evening, everybody. Sujit, just the audio video check. You can hear me and see me clearly?
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. So first of all, I am so happy and so relieved to be talking about the world normal, because the last 10 months, I've sort of also got so bored talking about when things will get to normal. So this is really a good news for all of us. And I really hope and wish everybody that we should never see a situation like this ever again. While I'm just taking about 30 seconds to set my presentation right, and let me know if you can see my slides. So just a quick check.
Yeah.
Great. So I'll share some of our thoughts probably over the next 8-10 minutes, and then I love to interact with all our viewers and take some of the questions from their side and get into an interaction. But this is really what I want to talk about, that three things: the impact on our work, worker, and workspace. And this pretty much constitutes a large part of what we do in our lives. Okay? I think the first picture explains it all, that technology was part of our lives for the last 30, 40, 50 years, right? But what's happened in the last 10 months, one huge change has happened, which is our intention to use technology. Many times there was a hesitation. Should I go and meet a client face to face? If I do it over the video, will the impact be so much? And one fine day, we were all told that we all got to be locked out at home. And the place where I'm speaking to is my home office for the last 10 months. And I don't think I've moved out from this place. So what's changed once we crossed that whole intention barrier? And probably it took us 1 or 2 months. Earlier we were waiting that things will get to normal, but we realized probably in 1 or 2 months that this is here to stay. The moment we cross that intention in our mind, everything seems to be looking possible. And the picture here, first picture, typically explains the future of a firefighter. I mean, we all have seen firefighter, and we all have seen well-built men. And I was very pleasantly surprised to see a whole women crew at the Bile airport who were basically firefighters, right? But the future of firefighters might be that we are using drones, and the firefighter is sitting behind gadgets of technologies trying to control the drone to make sure that the fire is extinguished in the shortest possible time. And I don't think that these things are far away. I mean, this is how things in our workspace will change. Another good example of that I can give to you is earlier we all thought that we have a local area of influence where we can actually go and work. But how this has changed is a good example is that my daughter is in class 11th, and earlier I had to take her to 2 tuitions at least, for various subjects. Now I just was speaking to her the other day, and she's found a very good teacher in Mysore, and we never knew her. But I mean, the moment we saw the skill into that, and for the last 4 months, She's very comfortable learning from somebody sitting in Mysore. In fact, for the first 1 month, she didn't even know which city was the tutor based on. But that's really how technology is really changing our lifestyle, and it is here to stay. I think the big change, which we will see very shortly, and some of us are already beginning to see that earlier digitization was used for experience, your customer experience, employee experience. I think the last 5 months, especially, right, digitization is used for better decision making, and that's a wonderful change to see because when everybody had a little lean time in the first 3 4 months, the IT teams were working round the clock first to set up remote people to work from home, but then they all spent their time to get their data strategy right. And once your data strategy and your structures are right, you can use data for meaningful decision making. So what it means for a worker is that there are two things that are over and above the usual skills that we have to use in a job, which we have to continue to learn. First thing is decision making. We will get all the data, all the tools at our disposal, but we have to make those decisions, and that's our job. And second thing is learning. Every single day, we are thrown away with new technologies. We are thrown out with new scenarios. So our ability to unlearn and unlearn first and then new things will actually define who you are. And in my introduction, you said I had 27 years of experience. I think I have only 10 months of experience because the past all experience is zero because we never worked into a situation like this ever before. And just to take an example, I think for 26, 27 years, I've been meeting customers, understanding their needs and closing businesses. But one of the things that I realized probably 15 days later that everything is virtual. I'm a virtual seller and I had zero experience in that. So I had to literally start from scratch. I had to take tutorials from fresh college graduates who had spent 5 months doing what we call telesales. So I had to take tutorials from them and learn the look, how do you relate to your customers? How do you understand the body languages that we were taught for the last so many years? But how do you do that virtually? So my experience is only 10 months, and I think I'm still learning. I think the next big change will happen in the workspace. I think I would love to work like this. Half the times I work from my garden, as the picture is, and I can see you and Ilpa are also working from home. So we got to make sure that and I very recently presented to our management team and about the reimagined workspace. And the picture I put together was that somebody's working on their sofa, somebody's working in the garden, somebody's listening to music. And I was telling my senior leadership that how will we replicate this in our office when people come to work because they are very productive in the current use space where they are, and we have to provide that space to us. So moving forward, I think just three, four things I want to touch upon on technology. Right? I think first is connect. What we saw is an amazing job done by the Indian IT technology industry, where they got millions and millions of our teams, like you folks, us, and so many other organizations, to start working from home. A testimony of that, let me tell you about some data points. WebEx, which we are using currently, we've seen a 5x growth worldwide. There are about 10 million people who come and do monthly meetings every single month. That's the level of magnitude we are talking. And when we have connectivity like this, the load on compute has gone up multiple times. I was talking to a few friends in the industry. I was told that the average desktop laptop was used about 8 hours a day, average in the corporate space. It's getting used for about 12 hours every single day. Now, and earlier, we were at least doing 4 5 of our meetings face to face and probably 2 3 over video. Now everything is on video. So just imagine the load and the complexity it is increasing on compute. And that is, and this compute is right from hybrid cloud, multiple clouds, on premise. So we need technologies which seamlessly help our customers to take their applications across hybrid cloud. And that's the new world that we are really talking about. And to all our technology listeners who are listening, my one big message is, and I learned this from a customer of mine, not my line, but I really liked it. where he said that earlier we had somebody called a network administrator, somebody called a system administrator. Now there is only one role in IT. Everybody is a cloud administrator because everything is on cloud, and we have to think like that. We have to learn like that, and we have to behave like that. Okay? Collaboration is in technology. I mean, I think you are from the media industry. You've seen what fantastic use it has come to. I mean, we have movies which got made where no actor has moved out of their house, right? I'm sure you're doing the same thing in terms of India, and that's a wonderful use of technology. But all this has one big, huge threat, which is security. While there was a lockdown for us, there was no lockdown for hackers. In fact, I recently came across that somebody on some site had introduced a mega $1 million award for hacking into something. I mean, that's a sort of craziness out happening there. And the latest survey showed that there is a 25 to 30% more threat to organizations because of this. And where does this threat come from? Either from email or end devices. These are the two most vulnerable places where the threat comes from. And that threat is for real. So if anybody is into cybersecurity, I mean, this is the time for us to really get together, learn new skills, and fight the hackers and make sure that our organizations and ourselves, it's not only about the organizations, ourselves also are prevented from that. So that's a huge change. And I'll quickly talk about four things, right? The impact on employees, right? A big change when it come to employee. And I was going to start by giving a Cisco example. We have 16,000 employees in our campus in Bangalore, and 2 months within the whole lockdown scenario, we realized that our employees are working from 109 towns, right, from Jammu and Kashmir to Kanyakumari. So basically, what it means is that you can work from anywhere, provided you have a good connectivity. And what it means for the employers is that you can hire anywhere. You can get your work done from the best talent. And what it also means personally for us is that I think on the average, every single human being in India is saving at least 2 hours of travel time a day. Right? At least in Bangalore, Sujit, we probably do a little more than that.
Yeah.
But I think that's a great time for each and one of us to either use that for our hobbies or use that for multiple roles that we want to do. Like in my case, mentoring and coaching was one very big thing on my mind, and I got this time now, and I use that time to 2 hours a day at least to especially talk to the youngsters in colleges and help them. And I've also just launched a digital platform, Perform to Potential, just to help those people around. And that was my utilization of my time. So basically, the geography has changed. The way we approach to work has completely changed. And all what we need to do is to focus on our skills. And we are no longer confined that I need to find a job in Bangalore or I can do work sitting here. And the best example I'll give it to you is that I work with a marketing agency, and one of these young girls had to shift to Canada. And we continue to work with her even now because it doesn't matter, where you are, and provided you can add value to our business. Now, what it means for employers is number one, you can hire from anywhere. As the example of Cisco that I given, the best talent can be really hired from. I think we have to think the way we are engaging with our employees, the experience that we are giving to their employees completely differently. The tool sets that have to be given to them, and I'm referring to tool sets like how do we give them a better place to at least interact, better devices at home. I have seen my customers talking about even ergonomic chairs to be given because you can't sit 8 to 10 hours. So there is a basically shift which has to happen from a huge amount of money that we all used to spend on real estate. And Cisco has closed down 239 offices globally. And basically, the whole idea is to give better tools and technologies and training to our employees and facilities to our employees so that there's a right balance. So I think going forward, we will see a big rebalancing of where organizations are spending, how are they spending. And this will have, I think, a good positive impact on our economy. Just imagine this. We have about 4.5 million IT people in India, which were probably 80-90% of them were working from 10 towns. Now they are working in over 100 towns. The local economy, I think, is pretty good. And the other thing which positive thing that I can think about is that we have a lot of women qualified, qualified women in the country. Many of them were not taking up work because of they didn't want to spend too much of time out of office, family care, and things like that. I think this is the biggest opportunity for us to get them back. And I saw a survey from one of the leading organizations which said that if we can just get a large part of our women back into workforce, we will see a 10%, 20% increase in growth in our GDP. Just imagine so much of talent which we can bring it back. But that sort of impact that we are talking, and I'll finally sum it up with a positive impact on environment. Not everything has been negative. We've spoken too many negative things in the last 10 months. I mean, we are finally breathing fresh air, right? And that is a boom, and I think each Indian deserves that. I mean, globally, the CO emissions have dropped by 7%, and it's a great thing to see that globally the healthcare budgets are up by 135 to 137%. In India, we're still short of 6 lakhs doctors, and I hope that this budget increase, including the yesterday budget announcement, will actually make sure that there is more people who come into the healthcare industry. They feel safe, and they may make us also continue to feel safe. And finally, I will just end this with one Cisco case study. And this is really the impact before and now. I mean, prior to that, we have very conventional offices, large boardrooms, we had huddle rooms, and everybody was supposed to come to office. You can work from home if you want. But now, since we are all working from home, I think when we will, in some part of the world, we already opened up, depending upon the country, but in India, we're still not going back to office. But the way I reimagine myself that, I just take care of, I give my example. I predominantly have three needs of office. One, when I want to sit and do my own work. Second, when I want to interact with my teams, with my colleagues, right? I need collaboration. And third, when I want to informally learn. I think my maximum learning has happened informally, working with my colleagues, with my leaders, right? So these are three needs of mine. I think the first part of it, I can do it sitting at home when I want to sit quietly, right? But the second part of it, when I go to office, I also want to go to office for my meeting. So the office construct has to be completely different, because just imagine the bigger teams will might be coming to office probably 2 days or 3 days a week, because we are imagining a hybrid workforce going forward. The jury is still out whether it will be 50%, 40%, but the general trend in IT industry, at least in India, is 50% of the time in office and balance this, and we will see how it goes. But it will need a completely different reshaping of the office, and not only the physical office. It will be a lot of informal space, a lot of small huddle rooms, because you will go there for your interaction and move out very quickly. And it will need a completely different technology to actually keep everybody safe. And I'll just give one example of what we deployed. We call it Cisco DNS. Now, how do you know that how many employees are where, whether social distancing is being met along or not, and especially when you have 16,000 employees in a campus? So this technology simply actually track from your Wi-Fi position. It just tracks and tells that in this conference room, there were supposed to be only 4 people, but there are right now 6. And it immediately gives an alert on real-time basis, because all of this you have to work in microseconds, and immediately you can take some action around that. So that's the level of change we are going to see. And I firmly believe that it is going to be a hybrid workspace there. The whole office space has to be slowly redesigned. And what we've already seen is that with all this, and even working remotely from home, by giving better tools and better technology, you see a whooping figure of 811 million. That is the time and worth productivity that we have been able to get better from our employees during these times. So with that, Sujit, I will end this with this, that look, to all our viewers, my message will be that if you are in the technology space, get to learn the new edge of technology. And the biggest edge of technology out there is around cloud, around cybersecurity. Right? Those are the two big ones I want to call it out. And be very flexible, adjust with this new normal. And let's not go back in our old ways. Let's take some of the best learnings from here and move forward to a new life. So that's pretty much I wanted to say, Sujit. Over to you. Happy to take any questions.
Thanks a lot, Sudhir. No, absolutely. It's staggering the kind of changes that are happening and the way I think all of us are responding to this. No, I mean, 16,000 employees working, I mean, earlier working from a single office and now out of 109 towns, you said. Unbelievable. Uh, and I'm sure, and even with that, an increase in productivity is what you said. I mean, so what more do you want? Uh, and like you wrote today as well. I mean, fascinating technologies emerging. I mean, though I find those noise cancellation. I keep giving Shilpa's example. I mean, Shilpa has this construction going on both sides of her house. It's in meetings like this. It's often often has to keep it as muted. But these noise cancellation kind of technologies that all of you have introduced and all can make so much difference to this kind of things.
So my favorite example on that in Indian scenario is the noise of a cooker, and I think I tried that.
I also thought that,
And before that, I had to, for anything important, I had to tell my wife that, look, this time to this time, you can't cook. So one fine day, I was given a choice: either you want to stay at home, stay, otherwise we are going to cook. So thankfully, with this technology, I won't get any more threats.
Yeah, no, absolutely true. Pressure cookers. I also thought about pressure cookers. So talking about technologies, I mean, which technologies are seeing the greatest and most urgent demands? You mentioned cloud and cybersecurity, but generally speaking, what? And what kind of impact do you expect this to have on people and jobs?
Look, I will say on cloud, probably not in any sequence, but that's one big technology. But I think there, what we are seeing is most of our customers are actually going on hybrid. So you will have some part of your applications on on-premise, some part of your applications on different cloud platforms, which is available. And the need there is, how do you balance your application on which cloud which gives you the best ROI and the best scalability. So the hybrid cloud portability, and that's one area which is, I'll say, on quite a number of demand, because there is not enough trained people around that technology, right? So you start with a basic cloud certification on any platform, and then you move towards the hybrid side, because somebody needs to still take those decisions and manage it, right? And with tools that are coming now, and we have a similar tool called Intersight. I mean, some part of artificial intelligence is built into that. So it will automatically learn how your application is performing on which cloud, and it will also give you some signals. But you need to have still skills for better decision making and fast decision making. So that's one area. And I think cybersecurity is one area which is I mean, huge, from forensics to email security to cloud security. There are at least 25 functions into that, not only one. And I recently hosted one of my security leaders, and he explained, and that is there on my website, Perform to Potential, and where he explained about probably some 20 different certifications you can do in cybersecurity, depending upon the field. I mean, cybersecurity is not one field. Forensic is a completely different field. Auditing is a completely different field, right? And third field is email security. Right? So there are about 20 such fields in cybersecurity. So I think one is to choose one area. You got to be a genius to do all 20, but choose your area. And I was very fascinated to listen to that. So those will be the couple of areas, right? Artificial intelligence is obviously given. These are new things which obviously
These certifications are all useful. These certifications are all useful once
Yeah, see, that is, I always believe that, look, certification is a starting point. We
Okay.
get theoretical knowledge, but I will encourage everybody to actually do online projects along with that, because get your hands practically hands-on, right? And I don't want anybody to forget the basics of networking, because all this world survived on networks even till now. Okay, so let's not forget the good old world, and I think that's where we have really augmented the certification, and we try to put everything online. And if there are any students, watching to this, this is what I always get asked when I address the students. I said, look, choose your field and do your additional certifications much before you enter the industry, because that will give you the edge. Right? make up your mind, at least do one or two of those certifications. And these days, everything is online, Sujit. So we can.
While you're doing your engineering, do those certifications.
Absolutely. I have Sujit twins which are in grade 11th, and I tell them that, look, I'm okay if you spend little less time, but do something practical and get your hands dirty in with the subject that you want to do. I think that will be my encouragement to everybody else.
Okay. And cloud is really big, right? I mean, I hear everybody talking now that cloud.
Yeah.
I mean, without cloud, all this is impossible.
Look, let me just give you a picture that even now in the Indian and IT industry, about 35 to 40% of the amount by the customer gets spent on cloud. So the balance still is on premise. So it's a hybrid world. Obviously, the percentage, Sujit, will keep on changing as we go forward. But hybrid will be the way to go there. I mean, everybody is choosing what type of applications they want to put on cloud, what type of applications they want to put. So I think that learning evolution will keep on happening, whether it's 40% cloud, 60% on-premise, or 50-50. That's a matter of time. But for some time, both of this will continue to grow. So it's imperative that we all get our cloud skills as well.
Shilpa?
Yeah, so we've seen a very interesting transition in the last 10, 11 months. Initially, it was about work from home and how companies ensure that employees' safety is at utmost priority. Then it's about productivity, and then a quick pivot towards growth. If you can talk about what are some of the priorities and concerns of companies and how technology is addressing some of these.
Yeah. So, Chippa, you're right. There are three phases everybody has gone through. The first phase was just reaction. I mean, the only priority which every organization has was to keep everybody safe and make sure that as many of them can get productive from home. And like in Cisco, over 135,000 associates which work, we could get them working from home safely, probably in the first 10, 12 days, right? I think the second phase came where things sort of little settled down. People were able to work from home, and the excitement and the nervousness came down. Then everybody started focusing on productivity tools. How do I make sure that the productivity of our team members, things like noise cancellation, and one of the most amazing thing I seen in one of my customers' place, where they were actually thinking of a small little cubicle. You recall we used to have the TCOs on the roadside, which was like a cubicle. So they were thinking about air-conditioned such cubicle to be given to their employees at home, so that you can sit in your room and you can have a noise-proof sort of. I'm serious about
Did
it.
they do it? Did they do it?
I don't think they went ahead, but they had a pilot of that, right? So basically, everything around giving the comfort and safety to their employees. I mean, spoke about everybody talking about giving allowances for better chairs and better tools, right? And very important for making sure that your data is safe. There are technologies that companies were talking about that the moment, especially on the call agents, right, who work with customer sensitive data. Even if you bring your phone next to your laptop, it will give a siren, and you're not supposed to bring your phone because you're not supposed to take a picture of my personal data, for example, right? So things like this, I think the type of innovation that I have seen in the industry, just to make sure, because there is no supervisor watching you, right? There is a IT tool only watching you, and so that's the sort of you can say employee safety, data safety, your customer sensitivity, right? Those are the sort of phases that everybody worked on. I think now is the phase when everybody is thinking about how to do a return to office, which we call RTO, right? Should we think about 30% first, 40% first? Now we're thinking about how technology can be used. And I give you an example when thousands of our team members come to office, how technology can be used to keep them safe, right? And so that's the technology round. I think the example I want to give you is the innovation in business. I mean, I have seen some outstanding innovation in business, and some of the startups have done wonderful job in providing education solutions with very less bandwidth, because in rural areas that was still a problem, right? Sometimes in Bangalore, we have that problem, Sujit. So I to talk only about rural areas. So that level of innovation and innovation of business model, I would want to really give you one example. At Cisco, as an IT company, we used to do probably 20, 30 events every single quarter, right? Sometimes I feel we are a F&B company as well, right? But now everything stopped. So one of the hotel industry people came out with this example that, look, we can help you to do virtual seminars. We are doing a seminar like this, but can we combine virtual dinner along with that? So I've been running this CXO workshops where we get about 10, 15 CXOs every single Friday. And one of the hotel ships excellent food to their home. And we have virtual dinner. It takes an innovation to think about it, right? It's the same thing, but that is the level of business innovation we are thinking about. And I hope that this innovation doesn't stop because I'm really enjoying it. Sujit, in the same room, I've sat and done press conference addressing Bangladesh media and Sri Lankan media. I mean, both my PR head and me were a little reluctant, but once we did the first one, it worked like a breeze, right? And yeah, I mean, I had done two press media announcing important things of Bangladesh and Sri Lanka sitting in the same room and
Wow.
on the same platform, and it just worked wonderfully. So I think innovation is that because the journalists also realize that look, they have to publish, they have to keep their papers on, so they need that news, and they all made efforts. And kudos to them for making efforts to adopt to the new technology. So I think it's that innovation that I'm talking about. And the only worry is that we should not shut our mind when we go back and continue to innovate. It's very easy to go back to the new normal. And I firmly believe that hybrid is going to here to stay.
Yeah. No, true. No, we also thought our graphics folks and all will find it difficult to work out of home, but everything ultimately worked. Everybody's working out of home. Yeah. Just a reminder to the audience. I mean, the chat box is open, the Facebook comment section. If you want to send in questions, do send in through the Facebook comment section. Sudhir, I want to ask you. I mean, for many of us, this whole transition to work from home happened very quickly. Some adjusted very nicely and very quickly. Others took a longer time. I mean, the learning curve was much steeper for them. How did you help companies to manage that transition and do it quickly?
Yeah, I think the first step for us was to provide a safe and a fast technology to connect. So things like remote connectivity, we helped probably more than 3-4 lakh deployment of that in our customer places, making sure that the edge devices are secure. Look, when we were in office, it was different. Now we are all using our devices, and that is probably a easy target for the hackers. So make sure that we give them a complete technology architecture which they can deploy sitting in their office across 10,000, 16,000 devices. The way my CIO puts is that I'm catering to 16,000 offices in India because every employee is an office now, right? So that was the first phase. I think the second phase, which really came, is that this explosion of infrastructure which happened in data center, in WebEx, right? I mean, how do we provide innovative tools to our customers? Things like Intersight, which help them to manage their entire data center, and implementation across hybrid cloud. I mean, that's the real area on which Cisco has been working. WebEx, we already spoken about. That probably takes about 10 million users every single month across the globe. It's huge. We have to really augment the capacity in the backend, as you can imagine, 5x growth. I mean, those are the areas that Cisco has been working along. And I want to also touch upon one area that, look, this is not only for the private organizations. It is true for the healthcare workers and government. I mean, we are so proud that we were associated with a number of control centers with the government set up in states, giving them the same video devices and the WebEx that we are speaking to so that they can talk to everyone. They can know. Doctors were speaking to patients using video. And one of them came out, our partner in Sri Lanka came out with a very good innovation. We have a big screen which we use for video. I mean, the screen was put on a robot and the robot went to the patient so that the doctor could actually sit in his clinic or in his room and fearlessly have that communication. So we've seen some fantastic examples like this in the healthcare field. I mean, those are the sort of things that Cisco has been really working on.
Okay, okay. Shilpa?
Yeah. So of course, businesses across the sectors suffered losses, but Indian IT industry showed tremendous resilience in how they can navigate the pandemic. So, if you can talk about from your own customers' experience, what are some of the key takeaways and how they've adapted to the new normal? What are some of their learnings? Like just you mentioned about one of your customers soundproofing, right? So.
Yeah. Look, I firstly want to just compliment the entire IT community because I don't know of a single customer, Shilpa, which suffered because of lack of IT deployment. I think people worked 24 hours, maybe sometimes 26 hours in a day, and they made sure that no business ever came down. And let's not undermine this transformation. Getting 4.5 million IT workers to work safely from home across I don't know how many cities, it's by no mean a small task, and big kudos to them for getting that done. So I think that's really where it started from. And now, as I explained to you, we are seeing getting back to growth with new innovation. So if we can continue to grow and if we can continue to innovate, right? But I also want to point out one or two red flags which we have to be really wary about. See, it's almost been like 11 months now that we are all at home. And the one big thing that we are all missing, obviously the socializing part of it that we used to do with our colleagues and Shilpa in India, I think for most of us, work is life, right? Our companies become our life and we are getting associated with that. I think the flip side is that the informal part of learning that we all had in the jobs, and I can talk about my personal experience. I've learned the most from my colleagues, from my leaders, and that learning has happened informally. When you watch somebody doing something, when you go out on meetings with them, I think that part has completely stopped. So because there is hardly an informal touch. So again, this is where again technologies like WebEx can play a big part. I want to call out our leadership. Our global CEO has been doing all hands with almost 70,000, 80,000 employees every single month and answering their questions. Not only him, the entire leadership. I mean, they're trying to build an informal connect with all the employees. And thanks to this technology, you can even have 1 lakh of your employees together. But still, I mean, we are missing that learning part of it. I think the biggest innovation will now happen in the way we can interact with our employees informally using video collaboration tools, interactive learning technologies, because learning cannot stop. So far in this heat of the moment and enthusiasm, we've all moved forward, but we not need to take a little break for our learning, and that will need a completely different thought process. So that's the only red flag I want to just call it out.
Interesting. That's exactly the question that has come from one of our audience, Antara Nag. She's asking, going forward, if you're saying hybrid models will kick in, how do you foresee employee training or student education happening?
Yeah. So Antara, it's a good question. I think first of all, I'll request you that we all need to be aware of this fact that learning has to be in our hands, not from in the hands of our employees or if we are studying from our institution. I think we need to be aware of this fact that 10% of our time in today's world, and I called it out in my slides, had to go into learning. Now, there are technologies available by which you can seamlessly learn, you can actually interact. All that is available, but the intention to learn and the commitment to learn has to come from us, right? And on the other hand side, I think organizations need to make sure that they are giving enough time to our teams to learn. I mean, if the whole world is changing towards cloud, cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, data center, we need to give time to our team to actually some time to our team and encourage them to learn. So I will expect that will be one of the biggest area going forward. And same for students. Learning starts when you are from a student and it just continues till the time you are living. It never stops. And I just want to give you a little statistics around it. I think only 6 to 7% of our internet users in India were above the age of 55 before this entire thing started. Now it's about 30%. So age is no limitation or a criteria. Everybody has to learn. I mean, this is the first time in the industry you've seen ads on TVs which are catering to the senior citizens, because everybody needs to buy things online, right? You can't only rely on your children or anybody else to do it, and that is a huge thing. Just imagine how much of learning they have to go through who have not bought anything online, but now there was no choice, and everybody learned. So I think that's the sort of transformation which we were talking about. I mean, just to end, that was the example. I think I was told that Amazon had to add about 10 new distribution centers in India because just to cater to the excessive demand that we're seeing online, right? But even buying online is a learning for somebody who's not done it. It's just the fear of technology sometimes, right? Which keeps you away from it. So I think that is a huge area. But I'll again end up by saying that, look, take that as your own responsibility. I feel I'm responsible for my learning and nobody else.
Yeah, but how is internet connectivity in there? You said 109 towns your employees are working. What do you hear from these employees who work out of smaller towns? Are their connections so good? I mean, they're all able to do what they want to do?
Look, we are. I think that's work in progress, right? So, and it's not only. Let me not go even to the smaller towns. Even in big cities like Bangalore, it depends on where do you really stay, right? Whether the fiber has been laid or fiber has not been laid. And just to quote an example with Cisco, about across 16,000 employees, we did a survey. Probably just 40% of them had a fiber connection. And while we are willing to pay to our employees, but there should be a connection available where you stay, right? So I will say that is work in progress. It has been a tremendous opportunity for all the service providers, and they also obviously had very little time to get up. And I'm sure they will all put the right investments in terms of fiber and other technologies. 5G is coming now, so I think we'll see that. But at the moment, I will say that that is work in progress, and we not reach the stage which happy. And sometimes, I mean, that's the wrong impression we communicate. And yesterday I was having a video call with a customer of mine who was based out of UK. And the moment I got on the call, fortunately my fiber was all stable and it was all good working. And thanks to the DX Pro we use, it was a big screen. And the first 5 minutes, he was surprised. How's your video so clear? I said, look, what do you expect? I mean, I want to tell him, look, stay in a big city in India. We don't always have connection problems. But look, that's the mindset that we have to also cross, that you're surprised that how is the video so good.
Okay.
So I think we have to just sometimes find this impression. But yeah, that's work in progress. And I think
but for your employees,
yeah, sorry.
It's not terribly important to have internet connection through the day or anything like that.
Yeah, look, you need to have an internet connection. We've come out with as many technologies like SD-WAN and others where you can compress the data and you can use lesser and lesser bandwidth. So that's the technologies that we are working on. Industry is also working on, but you need to have a stable connection. So
okay.
That is a must. And I must say that it is still a little patchy, right? It's not that 100% it will work. So, but it's much better than what used to be before.
Used to be. Shilpa?
We have some audience questions. This is from Saloni Gupta. When we were going to offices before the pandemic, we had events, sports, potluck to cater to the social aspects. With work from home becoming the next new normal, how will this be addressed?
Look, there is already so much of innovation happening, and I came across a startup about 6 months back. And what they do is exactly, Saloni, what you said, the entertainment part. So my discussion with them was, they said, look, we can bring any artist that you need, depending upon your budget. And if you want a 1 hour show, the singer, for example, will actually sing all the songs and it will be beamed only to your audience, probably 10, 20 of them. And you can even delight them by playing a particular song for a particular employee, right? So this is for real. Just to give you an idea, the Indian entertainment industry is worth about $4 or $5 billion. It came to zero. So the industry had to really reinvent ourselves. And again, I'm so good to see so many platforms coming like that, where not only the big singers, they're also promoting the local singers and the local performers, right? And in Cisco, we've been doing it almost every single month. We get a performer. Probably we are about 700 of us in sales. We are all on call, and we have what we call virtual cocktails and mocktails as well, along with a little performance. So I think we have to really innovate in this way. But the good news is the technology is available. And it also becomes very affordable. Just imagine that the singer is at their house; they don't have to move with their entire equipment. Because that takes so much of price. So that has also become very affordable, and you can actually use that. So that will be some part of our future. Look, where we have to live like this. And I hope that answers Saloni's question. But I must say that Saloni, it will not be as same as what it used to be seeing a live performance. But I guess we need to manage like that. And my message to everybody is please spend the informal times with your teams, because normally it happens is that we all so used to our work, and we can fill up more work for 12, 14 hours. But leave about an hour for informal touch. And this is what I do with my teams. I have about 1 hour every day where I'll speak to at least 3, 4 of my team members informally. And it's like just having a chat, which we used to do without any particular purpose in mind. So I guess we have to consciously do that.
So there's another. I'm sorry.
Go on, Shilpa.
Yeah, there's this other question from Sana Khan. Can you please elaborate on how the next new normal will be? And it's a segue to what we already discussed previously.
Look, I'll just give a little example of my wife. She's a management faculty member, and she used to go to a college. Now she's actually taking all the classes from home. She's also taken some additional classes because she has that travel time cut on, and she can keep one eye on the children, whether they are studying or not. Although that's a bad thing for children, but at least it works for the women. I think it just gives you the entire flexibility, right? Today, sitting in your home, you're no longer confined to going to a particular workplace. Depending upon what you want to do, you can pick up an assignment. And I give you an example of another young girl who's actually continued to work from me, although she shifted to Canada, and she still continues to work. Only thing is that our time of a meeting we had to change in morning or evening just to meet the time zones. So I'm so excited that for women, number one, this will add a lot more safety, because look, I have a young daughter, 17 years old, and before to send them even out for tuition, we have to make sure that we have, the right driver and things like that. But now everything can happen from home safely. You can do a lot more things, not only for work, but you can also sitting here. You can, if you're a performer, you can perform in UK or US. So it just brings that element of safety and flexibility and gives you more time. And I'm very excited that if this one area we can turn around in India, just imagine how much more productivity and happiness we will add to our entire community.
No, that's true. More and more people are talking about this advantage that women will have. Yeah, much needed. I'll take one more question from the audience. Vineet Radhakrishnan is asking, this follows something that we discussed earlier. Apart from certifications, what other things can help fresh grads develop skills to prepare for the next normal? You actually mentioned, so the practical projects and all that.
Look, this is what I tell my children, and I'm going to just repeat the same again. Get as much and practical experience as you can get. And I'll just give a small little example. I went to a B school for hiring probably about 2 years back. And I'm not really naming the B school, but everybody there was probably world class. It was a leading B school, right? And the first girl that I met, other than doing the education part, she could share with me that she's running her own company, which actually choreographs dancing, because her passion was in dancing. So along with studying, she had running her own company, and she had collected something like 50 lakhs for the annual event of the B school. I mean, I didn't really had to ask any other question. I said, look, what can we do to hire you? Because if somebody can do all that along with your studies, right? And I mean, what did you study for, right? Because you have to finally apply that either in research and technology or in the business side. In this case, it was a business side. If you are running your own company, if you have ability to collect 50 lakh for your institute, I mean, that needs some skills and some application of that skills. So what I will really encourage is practical exposure, and put your hand up and go for it, and put
And what there will be projects that they can participate in,
Yes.
or work on some open source projects and all that?
Look,
What?
anything, Sujit, anything which is practical. In the end, it should be something delivered which is practical. And I'll just leave again one example of my son. They wanted to work on a concept with a couple of their friends, that how do they come out with an app where juvenile diabetes children can get to know what is the carbohydrate intake they taken in the day, so that the doctor can adjust the dose accordingly. Look, theoretically, they had all the answers, right? But I said, this is crap. Unless and until you can actually develop a small prototype of the app and show it to somebody, because then it really becomes usable. Doesn't matter whether, as young kids, you don't have the best GUI of the app. Doesn't matter, provided it does its job. So my message here is very clearly: develop final prototype. Don't live only on theory, because theory in the end works in life when you have a prototype working. Doesn't matter whether the prototype works or not. So that will be really my point, Sujit.
Okay. I just want to ask you this question on office design. How is that going to change, you think, with all these the hybrid model that you're talking about? Internal processes, people policies, how would these change, you think?
So look, let's start with the people policies. In Cisco, we did this exercise, and we realized that there are 27 such HR and people policies which needs to go through the change.
Oh.
27 of them, right? Let me just take one or two of them. For example, we all have different personas. Like in my earlier life, I used to be in office one day and traveling 4 days. So I was something called a remote worker, right? Who will rarely come to office and work from there. Now, we even need to have a provision where if I don't want to come to office at all, that means I need to take permission to go to office, right? Because there is a cost associated to that, and there is a provision which needs to be done. We need to augment that policy, that look, if you want to work perpetually from home, there needs to be a proper policy around it, right? Just to give an example. I think second example I'll give you is this whole policy around sexual harassment. Entire thinking has been of physical harassment, but now this is shifting to digital. Not that digital was not there before, but now
Right.
we just need to completely think about that. Now, are we geared up as policies around that? I don't think so. So that is work in progress. And I mean, I'm just giving you two examples. So it starts with completely with policies, and then it will go to the organization design. If I have my way, this is how I want my office to be. I will need to have a quiet space where, if, or a sort of green zone, you want to work quietly, heads down, no talking allowed there, go and work. And there is a second, which is what we can call yellow zone, where we interact with the teams, large rooms, large huddle rooms, where a number of teams can come together. And third is the informal touch, because that's something that we are missing, right? We go out to cafes to have our cafeterias were the most popular joints where people want to have a cup of coffee. Probably you need to have lot larger, bigger informal spaces, because people will go to office for that. And suddenly imagine if you are going to office 3 times a day, probably one day you only want to go for socialization. So suddenly the space required around that needs to be designed. So that's how we'll have to really think. See, earlier offices were designed from technology standpoint, and to make sure that the organization culture is shown there. Now we'll have to really think a lot more about why is the employee coming to office, because he or she is working from home as well. He or she is coming for a particular needs, and give them those needs. So a lot of transformation needs to go through.
Yeah, I know.
And lot of and Sujit, we don't have all the answers. It is just
Yeah,
that
exactly. Sure.
there are. I mean, I ideally it will be you give a collapsible office to anybody who's coming there for 4 hours, and then it should change. That's a model in mind, but I'm sure some wonderful architects will even build that.
Yeah. Shilpa?
Sudhir. So, how are companies looking at future-proofing their business from a long-term standpoint? What are some of the changes that needs to be made?
Look, I think if I have to sum up in that line, it's a very big topic, right? Summing up in one line, it is agility versus precision. Look, we always been trained to be very, very precise, and the more experience we have, we are supposed to be more precise. But I think agility was important. But in the last 10 months, some of the businesses closed down. They had to start new businesses, think of a new business model. So what it's actually done to every organization is to give an environment where everything is agile, the thinking is agile, and the decision making is agile. And for decision making of agile, you don't not only need a flexible mindset and a fast mindset, but you also need tools, technology, and data to be available to you, where you can use for better decision making. So I think that's the direction that we are moving towards. And Shilpa, I'm keeping it short because so that we can take few other answers, but it's a very big topic. But that's the direction that we're heading towards.
Sure.
On so many changes. I mean, what does it mean for the leaders? I mean, how do they have to change and how to conduct themselves and all of that? What is your sense?
Yeah, look, a big change. And let me say a little bit of sympathetic word for all leaders out there, because while they have to be totally caring about the teams, but they still are responsible to drive the results, and it has not been easy in many sectors out there. I think the first biggest need which has come out, which was always there, is the emotional touch, or what we call EQ. It was important, but I think the last 10 months have shown that, look, not every time we had answers for a team, but many times we could actually listen to them and give them hope, and by connecting better with them, encouraging them to stay positive. That's one big need. I think the second big need will be create an environment where it's okay to fail, because innovation comes after a few failures. You're lucky if you get innovation right the first phase, and that doesn't happen in a day, Sujit. It takes a long time to create, give them the safety net, give them the environment where you are encouraged to try out new things, learn fast, fail fast, and move fast, right? So I think those will be the two call outs that I will say. And third is an environment where everybody is free to voice their viewpoint. As I said, my experience is only 10 months. So anybody who joined at the same time is better than me. Do we have the humbleness to listen to everyone and create a platform where new ideas can come in? And I just want to sum it up with one example. I mean, day 3 of the lockdown, I had to address probably 150 people who work as part of my team, and they were all looking at me and saying, "Look, we are going to get to know what do we do tomorrow." And I told them, "Look, I have no idea what we're going to do because I've never seen anything like this. I don't know what is going to happen, but I know there is only one thing. If 150 of us talk to 10 of our customers every single day and ask them only 2 questions, what is changing in your business and what can we help? And if we can accumulate that every single day, we'll get our answers." So I put my ops guy to collate all the 100 responses. Trust me, in 1 week later, we knew the 3 priorities that our CEOs are having. And the team themselves come out with solutions. Nobody looked at their role. They said, "Look, fine, there is a problem. All of us never thought about it. Let's make sure that 5,000 of our customers can remotely work from home, and let's make sure that we help them to go and deploy that." So I think that's the environment that we'll have to really create, and be humble around it, emotionally connected with our team, and give them the right support. And I'm sure post that, things will begin to fly as normal and even better than normal.
Yes, huge responsibility. Shilpa, any audience questions?
There's none in the question queue. Yeah.
There's one here from Jagdish Sharma that I have. How will cities evolve as employees no longer need to be in cities?
Look, a very interesting question. In fact, I think we're still evolving, Jagdish, because there is a lot of change happening. The place where I stay in Bangalore, I find so many empty apartments because everybody has people who had come from outside, had vacated, gone back. A lot of small businesses have been impacted because they were catering to these one. It's a matter of a little bit of rebalancing which will happen. Some of them will come back, some of them will not. So as I said in the beginning, there is a little bit of rebalance which will happen between the top 10 cities and the 100 towns. But overall, it will be good for the economy. Although there is a little bit of shuffle, some of them will go through a little bit of problems, some of them will gain. But eventually, it will be a better, I think, better equilibrium which will be there across the top 100 cities. I think that's what I really am hoping for.
Yeah, I find that group which was campaigning for that long expressways running through the city and all that are no longer talking about it. I mean, suddenly traffic has dropped so much that suddenly the need for those kind of things are
But Sujit, we have to be careful. We have to wait for another 3-6 months because
true,
people,
true, true.
we are a very resilient community and people fight back, right? And
Yeah,
we've shown that in the last 10 months how everybody has fought back. So we have to just give it a little time.
yeah. Okay,
So, Sujit, we have one more question coming
okay,
in.
okay.
This is from Ashwin Kumar. What does increased digital literacy mean in a business sense? How will existing business models get disrupted?
Okay. So the question is, how will the existing business models get disrupted? Is that the
Yeah,
question?
yeah.
Yeah.
What does increased digital literacy mean in a business sense?
Look, I'll answer from the second comment that you made because already so many businesses have got disruptive, right? Where we are now catering, whether we are a small business, whether it's a big business, we are catering to a new customer segment. We are catering. Just take an example. I mean, you can do a KYC sitting on a video call at home. I mean, just imagine that. I mean, that's a good positive disruption of businesses. New business ideas are coming. And technology earlier was an enabler. Now technology is become a differentiator. So that's the answer I would really want to give to you because especially digital technology. And earlier, most of the companies were focusing on digital customer experience. Now it is about digital employee experience first and your internal stakeholders. Now think of all of us. We are having a digital experience right now and everybody working from home. And that amount of focus, it requires, I think, first of all, willpower. And second, a lot of skills, the cloud skills, security skills, networking skills, data center skills. I think that's really what is required. And data analytics and AI, that is huge, going to be really, really huge. And my vision of this, if I have to just summarize, is that, probably a couple of years back, customer had a need, we knew how to cater to it. I think then we came to a stage where we said that, maybe you might have this need, we are predicting, right? Now, I think with all these artificial intelligence, data analytics, we will be able to go back to the customers that you will have one of these three needs. You choose which one comes to you. I think that's the model that we all can work towards, and that will be absolute customer delight.
Okay. Great discussion. I mean, fascinating subject. Dramatic changes have happened. I think, and still it's work in progress. We don't know where it's all going to, how it's all going to shape up. All of us are learning even today. Thanks a lot, Sudhir. That's a lot of things to process. And for all those who are viewing, as Sudhir said, I mean, newer technologies are becoming very important. Cloud, cybersecurity. There are certifications available that you can use to upskill yourselves and do a lot of practical projects that you can showcase to potential recruiters. So thanks a lot, Sudhir. Thanks to Cisco for associating with us. And okay, we'll meet.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
Sudhir.
Yeah. Great. Thanks. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye.